when we speak of cities which are home to over half of the world's population and are now at the front line of climate impacts.
In fact, globally, urban heat exposure has increased nearly 200%, affecting 1.7 billion people since the mid-1980s. Their high residential and population density interconnected networks of critical infrastructure make them particularly vulnerable to climate-related disasters. And ladies and gentlemen, our next session, Blueprint to India's Climate Resilient Cities, brings together leading experts who are pioneering approaches to sustainable urban development. And I'd like to request my co-host Amita to moderate this particular session. Please welcome her panelist, Mr. Amit Prothi, Director General of the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, Professor Anjal Prakash, Research Director at ISB and IPCC Lead Author, and Professor S.N. Tripathi, Project Director of the National AI Center of Excellence for Sustainable Cities. He is also the Dean of Kotak School of Sustainability at IIT Kanpur. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Over to you, Amita.
Thank you, Hina. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to have you with us on this second edition of the India Climate Summit 2025. And why it is necessary this time, because when we speak of climate change, this is something that has now become a concern as the years go by. And this has been a growing concern when we speak of development, when we speak of the society, when we speak of growing population, and all of those concerns increase overhand as far as when the kind of planet that we are going to leave for our future generations. So leaving a better planet so that there are no complaints, rather something which is sustainable. Mr. Prothi, if you want to begin with you, when we speak of urban centers, because this year itself, ecologically speaking, environmentally speaking, hasn't been off to a great start. We saw wildfires in the US. Currently, there is a heat wave already at 35 degrees being announced there in the UK. We are looking at cloudbursts and floods being reported across the country here back home. The concerns are big and they are serious.
Absolutely. And I think, first of all, it's very hard to follow such a panel, the one before us. I'm an optimist. So I think it's hard to sort of come with a message of doom if you're an optimist. And yes, it has been an incredibly hot year. Last year was the hottest year ever. No denying that. This year is hot. I mean, you step out and this is maybe the wrong clothing to wear in this environment. But at the same time, there's a growing recognition that this is a problem. And why, when I say I'm an optimist, it's because we are still building our cities. We're sitting in a place where the next 20 years, the amount of infrastructure we're going to build is what we built over the last 200 years. To me, that's the opportunity. The fact that we now are more aware is the opportunity. The fact that we need to really start rethinking how we're building things is the opportunity. And I'm not going to pretend it's easy, right? It's not easy at all. But at the same time, we've got experts here who are starting to understand how do you build your road systems in a way where it's not melting in the heat. If you open the newspaper today, if you look at BBC or CNN, and literally I was looking this morning, and in the US they've got a heat dome and they've got melting roads. We've dealt with it much before they have, right? So in a way, we are in a place where our understanding of these risks is actually much more advanced than some of the other places. That's the starting point, right? So I represent an organization, it's called the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. It was set up by the Honorable Prime Minister in 2019 as a global institute headquartered in Delhi to not only help India, but to help the world to see how we can actually build infrastructure from a point of view of resilience. Again, that's the opportunity. We can start to do things, and we're doing a number of things where we're trying to understand how do you build infrastructure, or how do you build infrastructure for today, for tomorrow, for day after. We're starting to understand these risks already. So we're not suffering because other places have built their infrastructure and now are struggling. We're still building, right? So to me, I'll just start with a message of optimism that we are doing something and then come back to the next sets of questions.